hope that was all recording.
It was not.
Okay.
Thankfully, it was not recording. Should we? We should. I mean, it's the end of the show. I'll make it a little shallower. Make my own a little bit shallower too. And I kept in theme with the show and poured a little bit on the table.
Right. Yeah. You line them up a certain distance apart,
and then
get a running start,
and then just get it every fucking where.
Welcome to another episode of Anyways, the second to final episode of Anyways, and also the final episode of the series. Today we're reviewing the 12th episode of the third
was that the
season.
final episode anyway?
It's the final episode of the series Deadwood.
Yeah, but it's not the final episode anyways. We still have...
Spoilers, there was a movie that was
There's
made.
more things.
No, this is the last episode
on this set.
of the review of Deadwood. And today we're reviewing Tell Him Something Pretty, which is the last episode of the original run of Deadwood.
Mm-hmm.
And today, Hearst left town.
There's a lot to unpack in this episode, and I'm not really sure exactly what all went down, so we'll have to kind of talk through it.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm...
There's some morally dubious stuff.
I don't know if you guys know this. It's the first time I've seen the show.
Yeah.
So, you know, when I'm watching this and then I get to the end, I'm just like, man, I understand why everybody's pissed off.
Right. Yeah.
About this show.
How was that for a series finale?
When it got to be about 3/4 of the way through the episode, and I could feel it was about 3/4 of the way through the episode, it was like, they can't wrap anything up.
This is not ramping up to anything.
This is nothing. It's like
this feels like an episode in the middle of a of a season.
Yeah, it feels like episode 6 or something. But like, yeah, as soon as Hearst is like, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And I'm going to the
Montana, was it?
No,
I think it said Yukon, but
it wasn't the Klondike. It was something.
I think it was Yukon, but he may have had another syllable in there. I don't
remember. But as soon as he said that to EB, I was like,
or was it?
What?
Was it EB or it was it Langrish where he?
Oh, it was Langrish. You're right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. But yeah, as soon as he said that, I was like, what? Why the fuck is this happening?
Yeah.
Why isn't there going to be a big showdown? And then there wasn't a big showdown.
They had all the people there for a big showdown.
There was no big showdown.
Yeah.
All the Chinese members had guns, and all the Hawkeye's men were there.
Yeah.
And
Hawkeye still needs to get his throat cut at some point.
Yeah.
I know.
Assuming all of this blows over, he's got. Well, I don't know.
I mean, I think
maybe he'll end up in
assumed
a box
that he would be in trouble.
He'll end up in a box next to the Chief's head. But he'll be the head. He'll be the head that Al screams at all the time.
Right? Yeah.
I want to say
They'll
that
put Jen's head in there too.
ZZ,
the one he apologizes to.
they just have 3 heads.
Yeah.
And it's all a duffel bag.
It's like three boxes on his desk that he confers with.
Yeah, and he's just
When I first saw this, I had the same reaction.
Sorry, Toots.
I'd heard so much bad about the ending of the series, it getting canceled. And I was like, this is great. This is great. And then. Wait, what?
And then it stops. And
yeah,
you're
just like,
what?
Like, there's no ending.
We ran out of time, Mr. Bullock.
But okay, this is what's so strange. The other 2 season finales, you would be like, okay, like if that's where the show ended, you'd be like, okay, sure.
There's dancing.
That feels like closure.
There's dancing.
Cinema and music.
Yeah.
But again, they thought they had season 4 until the CEO of HBO was removed.
But why would you change the formula?
Maybe they were just mixing it up. Maybe they were like, "Well, we can't have dancing again. I feel like we're getting predictable here."
Well, no, I think it was originally conceived as a 2-part story.
Right, and we will see more of Mr. Hearst next season.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. How are these things like? Oh, here's the thing. There's the great tragedy of this is that is the note we leave out on with Powers Booth.
Yes. Powers Booth is dead.
He kills Leon and then pulls down the top of a woman he's been picking on for 2 episodes.
He threatens to shoot her. She pulls down her top.
She pulls down her.
Yeah, about to shoot her in the head.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
And it was like he was going to shoot Hearst because Hearst gave him like a raw deal or something. Like he
gave him a quartermaster job, and that he, basically he didn't get a good. I didn't have time to look at that.
All his ass kissing didn't amount to much.
It didn't amount to shit.
Yeah.
And he at first was going to shoot Hearst, but he's a coward, and then he was going to shoot her.
Yeah.
Just to vent.
Before we get into who all is dead and everything now, like in real life, let's just talk through the episode.
Okay.
Well, before we leave the ending, I'd say that you could sort of argue, and I was able to talk myself into this after a while, that the ending line is tell him he wants me to tell him something pretty, and that what Johnny wants, Al Swearingen, is cleaning up blood yet again and he seems to feel the weight of it.
Yeah.
And so it's arguing that we, the audience, want to hear a happy ending.
Yeah.
And there's no happy ending. The larger corporation, Hearst, which is capitalism incarnate, rode off, and the little people got stomped on.
So Alma sold her claim to him.
Yeah.
And she left town, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With Sophia.
Yeah, and that's a realistic ending.
It's
it's unfortunate, but
it would be a realistic ending if it were an ending. But it's
very sudden.
But it's obviously not.
Well, that's
an ending.
like what we've talked about, where Milch has this like long DVD extra on the third season, where he just talks about the nature of endings, and it's just him coming to terms with the fact that he had the rug ripped out from under him and trying to like
it's the least
retroactively
convincing Milch speech ever.
trying to retroactively justify.
He's like, you don't get closure in life.
I haven't seen it, but that's bullshit. It's a show
You're expected to have
It's not him trying. It's not him trying to bullshit you, though.
Yeah.
It's him processing his grief.
No, it's him trying to justify.
And the whole time he's talking about it, he's walking through the set.
Yeah,
sure.
And
it's like a ghost town.
But but it's like on some level he's
bullshitting himself.
He's playing it off like, oh, that's just all part of my master plan.
He's trying to make it more palatable for himself.
I think the series, in some ways, you could argue it's better than overlong, overstuffed endings of other more carefully planned series. This is a show that's cut down in its prime, but it still says something coherent, which is the good guys lose. The good guys, as it were, lose. The big corporation eats them up and rides away, and it's no big deal to them. It's solid.
I do want to hear more from Chad because this is still very fresh for him. I've had 10 years to digest it. So I have come to terms with and do kind of enjoy the last episode.
Yeah.
And I've kind of, it's like I've entered the acceptance phase.
Yeah, same here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what my take on it, but you haven't had that.
But here's the thing for me, watching, especially like basically binge watching it like we've been doing, is that it's like you keep saying like the bad guys won and the good guys lost and they sold the claim and all that stuff, is like, but none of it feels like that. It feels like the next episode.
It feels like now what?
The next episode is like, now we're gonna see what Al does and all this stuff, and it's not. It would feel like more of an ending if Al was like, and he like shrugs or something. And is like, and like basically says like, basically says to the effect of like, you can't win them all.
Well, I mean, that's what he did.
But he doesn't do that.
He says, "You want me to tell him? He wants me to tell him something pretty. I had to kill a girl."
but that only takes on a larger context when the show's over. I don't think like the original concept. The original concept of it is not that. The original concept of it isn't anything about.
I think it's
been the nature of
endings as a statement about the show being canceled.
I think he had time to like. I'm not sure if he had time.
I think they knew about it in post.
I think in post they could have gone to that set and shot a scene or two. I think they may have, but I mean, regardless, I take that. That's exactly how I take that scene.
But if that's what they could do,
as Al shrugging, Al shrugs and says, "Oh yeah, can't all be winners, kid."
But I feel like that's more about Johnny's development.
But that's like saying you're riding a roller coaster, and then in the last 2 seconds, and then the last 2 seconds, like it just stops suddenly. And then they're like, "Yeah, the roller coaster's over." It was like,
wait, what?
No, it's not. It's not over. You just didn't finish the roller coaster.
Yeah.
But
but that's life, though. Sometimes roller coasters don't end.
That's not.
Again,
no, I'm just saying.
What if we got you and we said David Milch died immediately after this season? Like, I take it. This ending is more powerful and more memorable to me than the ending of The Wire, or more powerful, more ending than the ending of the recently ended a week ago Game of Thrones. It's like, was not a good ending. But regardless, this ending is sudden and it's shitty and it's crappy, but it also makes some sort of thematic sense.
Okay.
And I know that's me taking my issues to it more than it bringing issues.
How long have you had to sit with it?
Over 2 or 3 years now. I don't
and you've had 10 years?
Well, I say 10 years. I watched it in college, so like 2009 maybe.
I've had 35 minutes.
Yeah.
Since we watched it.
That is 10 years. Yeah.
So, obviously we're gonna view it differently.
Yeah.
So,
and I think your action is the more natural reaction, but
yeah. Oh no, and everyone hates that it ended like that.
It's widely regarded.
I just my takeaway from it is just that it's part of the tragedy. Again, until recently, I thought that was all we were ever going to get.
Sure.
And so I've made myself love all of it.
And see, like, if going into it, I knew that this was it, then maybe this discussion might be different because I'd be like, well, how does this fit into a larger
getting a payoff
context of things? Because this is all there is. Yeah, but since I know there is a bigger payoff to it, I'm like, what the fuck's that?
Yeah, like they actually did 10 years later get a chance to go in and say, okay, let's end it.
And so now I'm thinking like, what the fuck are they gonna do now?
Right? Yeah.
Well, hold on, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about the episode.
Okay, sure. All right.
Yeah.
So
all that was good. But
well, let's talk about the goddamn episode. Yeah. Because I've already forgotten a bunch about the episode just because
the ending.
Well, only because like there was this anticipation the whole time of like what's about to happen. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't always thinking about what was happening in the moment.
Right.
And so by the time I got to that 3/4 of the way through mark, I was like, I don't know if I remember very much about this episode at all.
Charlie Utter knocks on Hearst's door.
Oh my God, that's
my favorite Charlie Utter moment.
Right out of the gate, the great episode just with that.
Yeah.
He says, "I'm the guy that the next time you see me, you better take a different fucking tone with."
Yeah. So I suppose someone looking hard might find you in there somewhere, peeking from under the covers to make a fucking threat. Like, I love that so much.
And what's great is neither of them are right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's Hearst is.
They both see bloodshed coming. And it doesn't happen on either side.
Yeah. So how quick did Hearst figure out that he was leaving? Well, I guess Hearst's leaving,
probably
but he's leaving guys there.
But in the grander scheme of things, there was going to be a big battle, but it was going to be in the 4th season, and it was going to be without Hearst there.
Yeah.
That's what was going to happen.
Finally say, historically, in the next 10 years, Deadwood burnt down twice. As an entire city whole.
That was the heavy foreshadowing line.
That's what I figured. But I thought
nothing but say, fire marshal this and pipes that.
But I thought that was going to happen like in this episode or something.
Milch planned to open the next season with that.
With the fire.
Oh, okay.
That burns down the whole camp. Yeah.
That would have been neat.
That's why when we go there, no structure is left from the original Deadwood.
It also
except for Tom Nuttall's number 10.
It's been rebuilt. No. Like twice.
Also, it flooded.
Goddamn stovepipe.
The city
Can't
flooded.
Get away from me, Al.
Also, it flooded.
It also flooded. Like the river overflowed, and many of the houses were just
burned and flooded.
Yeah. Burned twice.
God
One of those times, like there was a building that had dynamite, and it completely exploded. Just I imagine that. In thinking about our drama, it would be recontextualized as part of the fight between Hearst and Brandon.
Yeah.
We get to see Harry Manning get his fire truck this episode.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, that's...
Harry Manning
can't wait to see that.
Some people have a happy ending.
Can't wait to see
just
that
saying.
We last see him putting his hand on the box.
Yes.
Of the fire engine.
And he's asking if the hats are in there.
Yeah. He just wants the hats.
And then in the foreground is... Actually, no. What's his name? I think what's his name is in there still.
Shitster?
No, not Steve. Steve is in there.
Steve was in there until
he was taken to vote. But
they had a checker piece in his mouth.
Yeah. What I thought at the beginning of the scene was a piece of shit hanging out of his mouth.
I thought it was someone put a cigar in his mouth.
Something. I was like, it looks turd-like.
It was a mustache or something.
Yeah. I don't know. But apparently it was a checker piece.
And Tom Nuttall gets a happy ending. Tom Nuttall gets to be excited about the new fire truck.
Exactly.
He talks about it the way he did about the unicycle.
Exactly. So he's very infatuated with toys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And let's see.
And it's funny too. That's full circle for Tom because he was so against fire safety.
Exactly. It's perfect.
This episode pays off so much.
It does.
There's such closure
for me.
Jack Langrish continues to care about the camp, and he even tries to incept Hearst with the idea of leaving. But Hearst has already decided to leave.
Yeah, he's already been incepted.
Yeah.
It's an inception inside of an inception.
It is. Inception.
Hawkeye, as we've discussed, does well. He gets them in there.
Yeah, he pisses on the side of a building, and then
that seems like a rewrite of his character because he didn't always seem to be that guy.
No, not at all. He was like
he was vanished from the show.
He was like a badass.
Yeah,
at the beginning.
He was the silent one.
No, he
was Adams' butler. They called him the butler.
No, he would always just stand back there and be like, and just have like a really like stoic look on his face.
I think his most defining characteristic is that he was always late. Like that was what he did.
But that's what happened like after his initial like showing in the show. As like after that, then they started making jokes about him.
Yeah.
That like
Joe Adams and his butler to the
right.
like
his little hat is not very menacing.
No. It's not very menacing. But like when you call somebody Hawkeye, and then they're always just standing there looking cool with a thing or whatever on their face.
He says that he's supposed to bring 23 men. He brings 18 men, or 17 and a
almost
half.
18 men.
And we see actually in the shot, there's a wide shot. We see the little person. And next to the little person behind him is ZZ Top, or 2 members of ZZ Top.
Oh, really?
In that wide shot, yeah, they're cameoing. Also, Anthrax appears in this episode as well. During the scene where
a band or
like members of the band,
no,
the most
band.
recognizable guy.
That was the envelope that he gave to Farnham.
It's a really awkward thing. I think it's this episode. It's the scene where the general is in line and people are trying to intimidate him. And then in the background, supposedly, I think Anthrax is there. There's a YouTube video just devoted to it. Anthrax are somewhere in Deadwood.
We do need to bust out a Deadwood map and figure out how exactly the
This was a big point of contention in the episode because I had to pause because I was flabbergasted. And if somebody comment down below, whatever, like we were befuddled by the fact this was like a 10-minute conversation of
right before the end
trying to figure out
everything's ramping up and then we have
Sai's about to pull out the knife and stab Leon and it's just showing these generic looking shots of
we're seeing the different people. We're seeing the Chinese people with guns and we're seeing the Hawkeye's people with guns.
But it's also just showing establishing shots of the buildings, and it shows the hotel with the hole in the wall, and then on the next to it it's got the Deadwood Pioneer. And that's when I was like, what? And we stopped and had a 10-minute long conversation about how that doesn't make any sense. Because
we know the Deadwood Pioneer is connected to the gym, which is across the street.
Which is across the street because we see that because
Hearst stands out on the balcony of the hotel and looks across at the
street.
So how do you go through one door and teleport across the street?
Yeah. Especially since the backside is also the backside of the gym is the Chinese alleyway.
And the movie doesn't have to answer that because the camp's burned down twice. So that it's all rebuilt.
One way to answer it is that this is an intersection that we're at. We also see, when you pause it, we also saw Bullock and Starr's hardware was out there too. So I'd have to say that maybe these are the 4 corners of an intersection.
Well,
but somehow that intersection has a connection.
But that doesn't make any sense. So they're still on this different side of the street. I mean, like the Bella Union's right here. There's an intersection right here for the Bella Union to be across the street from the gym. And then I think the hardware store is right here, maybe. That part I'm not really sure about. But I know for a fact that those 3 are right there, at least the way they've established the locations of things.
It does not make any sense that the Deadwood Pioneer would be across the street from itself.
Yeah, well, unless that's the joke with Al saying,
yeah, can you believe?
How does this fucking connect? I don't know.
I never imagined I could get here from there. But the only thing that I can feature being a possible answer, and it wouldn't be a satisfying necessarily answer unless we go back and watch it and we... Like maybe there's an episode where Merrick takes a paper off the press, walks across the street, and puts it on a stand, and over that it says Deadwood Pioneer.
Yeah. If there's 2 locations for the Pioneer,
right? If like there's a dispensary and the actual press,
that's fun. I just thought it was very odd watching it. That's it.
Yeah.
And there's maps online where you can look up the show, the actual.
And I haven't done that, so fuck me.
Of Santa Clarita Melody Ranch has certain setups, and you could have tours of this before they tore some of it down for Westworld, unfortunately, and then of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Big controversy.
Huge.
Let's see what else we got going
on. That's really it. No.
Well, no.
Anyways.
The shit stirrer, who we refer to as a shit stirrer, but because he's referred to in these transcripts, but his apparent name is Rutherford.
Maybe they even call him in the show Shit Stirrer.
That's true.
I mean, didn't Charlie Utter call him the Mr. Stirrer or something in this fucking episode?
He mostly is referred to as the Shit Stirrer.
But he called him like Stirrer or something.
Yeah.
It was it was very strange.
But even he gets a decent moment where he stands up for Fields in the line.
Yeah.
He talks about the amendment, like all men are allowed the right to vote.
But it might also just be a symptom of him having to be contrarian in every situation.
He has to be.
And stirring up controversy and...
Actually.
Well, technically.
And then Utter to the rescue, and Utter threatens a goon and is just like, don't you fuck with this guy.
Twice in one episode, Charlie Utter stands up to some motherfucker and basically tells them to go fuck themselves, and he'll fucking kill them if he has to.
Yeah.
He's pure as the driven snow and good in a tight situation.
I love Charlie.
But unfortunately, at the end, he's reduced to calling out to Hearst, like, where do you want this body, who I presume is Odell, where do you want this body delivered that just arrived at my post office? And then also he's like, Bullock, you did a good thing threatening him before he leaves. And then Bullock is like, no, I didn't do anything.
I feel like a sap.
Yeah.
A sucker.
Can we talk about this really uncomfortable situation where Al basically decides to kill somebody else instead of Trixie?
Yeah.
Which is a totally selfish thing to do. There's no real...
But Al is who he is.
Yeah. I mean, and we as audience... It's what's uncomfortable about it is that we as audience members would rather Jen die too.
Yeah, I know.
But I shouldn't feel that way.
Exactly.
Because that's awful.
Yeah,
poor
it's
Johnny.
terrible. Yeah. I mean, honestly, what you want to happen is that...
We don't want our good guys to... We don't trade lives, Vision.
Exactly. That's what you want to happen, but it's also Deadwood, so it doesn't it wouldn't make any sense.
Well, I mean, but like just last episode, we were talking about Al's hero leap from the balcony.
Yes.
And this episode, this is not a hero.
Well,
because he's not a hero. He's never been a hero.
It dirties the good reputation of a lot of people in the show because Bullock and Charlie Utter are sitting right there in that room when they're talking about doing it and wagging the casket up there and all of that, and they're just sitting there silent about it.
Well, no. So he tells Al Swearingen tells Saul that it's already done when it's not already done.
But Saul knows that he's lying.
Why? How?
He says, I can't remember the exact.
He says,
maybe
is that
the
the
truth?
truth?
Maybe it isn't.
He's like, is that true?
But he knows.
Yeah.
He's saying like he knows that Al lies about this stuff.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, of course I'm telling them. Yeah, they're already dead.
And Saul's got skin in the game.
Yeah.
Of course.
Exactly. He's willing to accept it.
But he exactly. He will concede because
he just wants somebody to tell him that
it's already done.
It's already done.
With Bullock and Utter,
that they can't be changed now.
Exactly. That's all he wants. And Mal knows that.
We don't see Saul tell Bullock, Utter, and Martha that they've cut this poor girl's throat when her throat hasn't been cut yet.
Yeah.
But when they're there,
turn a blind eye to a lot of shit now.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's like they see the coffin and everything, and it's just like, they just kind of look at it.
I mean, are we talking the law officials in this show have turned a blind eye for so many things.
Yeah.
That it's like, oh no, they turned a blind eye to some prostitute getting killed in place of the prostitute that's with the sheriff's best friend.
Yeah. Right.
Not a big shocker.
This one's our friend though.
Yeah, exactly. Not a big shocker.
And she has value and agency.
Yep.
Sort of.
Because she's not really a prostitute. That's
the main one.
That's what it comes down to.
She's the main one.
Because this other lady's just a prostitute, then it's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, we haven't even really seen her much.
Yeah, she's not a big deal.
I don't even remember her name.
Bullock has this moment where he looks back after Hearstman leave the office. He looks back at Jen's body and he feels guilty. He also refers to in his last lines about having a hard time sleeping tonight.
Yeah.
So,
but whatever. Fine.
Yeah, it's like they did awful things, and I guess it satisfied Hearst well enough.
To quote what Trixie I think would say anyway. Oh great, you're gonna have a fucking hard time sleeping tonight. Who gives a shit, Bullock?
Yeah.
You know, it's good for fucking you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His Holiness.
Yeah, your Holiness.
And the only person who comes out looking good is Johnny. Maybe a little, right? I mean,
no,
at least he tries not.
I think Johnny does come out looking
good.
What
he said is like that's the most rapid development of his character we've gotten so far.
I try not to do this while watching an episode, but I was thinking like of things to say during the discussion, and one of the things I was saying was like, "Oh, Johnny graduating to road agent, finally," and I was like, "Oh, he's not gonna do it."
Yeah.
Weird.
He pleasantly subverted your expectations.
Yeah, exactly.
He's asked to kill Jen. He tells her to look at a wall. She says it's a wall. He says inside that wall are ants, and there's worker ants and whore ants.
Soldier ants and
there's soldier ants, and the whore ants take care of the soldier ants sexually. And
and there's little baby ants.
And she's like,
We'll talk more about this later.
And it's so funny, but also so sad because he's just trying to justify what he's doing.
He's trying to do what Al would do.
Yeah,
and he can't do it.
Yeah,
he's not Al.
Well, and even like awkward thing, like he walks in and he wants to talk, and immediately like, she bends over, and he's like, "No, I just want to talk."
God damn it! It's like I don't want to fuck you. I just want to talk to you.
Nothing to be concerned about, or something like that.
Yeah.
What was it he said? He said it more like on the nose, like,
right? Well, yeah.
I think he said only conversation.
Well, and then but he said something about
and
like
puts his
like
arm
nothing to be fearful of,
all the way around her neck, like almost in like a headlock.
Yeah,
like
with his arm behind his back.
Yeah. Like nothing to worry about. And it's like, well, I would be fucking terrified if somebody did that to me.
And of all the nameless people, the extras with like maybe a name and a few lines who get their throats slit in the gym, this is the only one where the series maybe it isn't a comic beat. It takes pains to show us that our main characters suck for doing this, and they're in the wrong.
And even Al is
well, they didn't
upset that he has to do it.
They didn't even show it.
No, they didn't.
No, it has.
Which is unusual.
Into his office and closes the door. And I think
it's unusual.
It would have been gratuitous to show.
Yeah,
it.
I don't think it would have been gratuitous. I mean, I think we just saw him kill the guy who we dislike last episode.
But here's the thing.
He's a hero now.
But that's someone we
that's
dislike.
the thing. They want him to be a hero, so they can't.
But this is something that's already uncomfortable and making the audience squirm.
Yes.
We don't need to show it. We don't need to see her reaction to it happening.
It's just like seeing Aunt Lou's son. What's his name?
Odell.
It would just be like seeing
why do you need that scene?
Odell die.
Well, I think we do need some of these scenes just to sell the idea, which is the violence that he's committing is not excused by our identification with him.
No, I know, but when the show's trying to sell you the fact that he is a hero,
they'll show it.
That's what. Yeah, exactly. I mean, okay, well, they're trying to tell you the fact that he is a hero. They don't want to show you the stuff that he has to do to continue being Al Swearingen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
after a while, they're like, we can't do that
turn
anymore.
Away.
Yeah, exactly. They force the turn away for you.
Right. But again, it's a thing where
it's manipulative.
It's manipulative, but it doesn't lessen the impact of it. I don't think.
I don't think so either.
I think it's like you feel bad.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh my god.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of being
instead of being so
horrified, overtly off-putting.
Yeah.
Like basically we get to be like, that sucks, and Al is a complicated guy.
And I think
instead
also
of having a bad taste in our mouth.
And I think also, I mean, like the show is obviously showing that Al is progressing over time. Like he feels. I mean, you can see that he feels wrong
the pain
for
of it,
doing this, and it would feel strange to show that, and then for him to feel wrong about it, like to show it in like a way that's almost like, because every other time in the show they really show it's like gratuitous, it's glorifying it, it's all this other stuff, and like then if you showed it in this bad, awful time when you're trying to show that this character's progressing, I don't think it works.
Well, and then also, we saw him kill the Reverend, but that was done it was like a mercy killing thing.
Yeah. It's
this thing with Jen is not mercy. It's not him putting her out of her misery.
It's like a wife coming up to her husband who's about to die anyway and smothers him with a pillow.
Right. Yeah.
It's like to end it. So he's not that's different.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's like we get that happened without having to watch it.
Because also the throat cutting idea in this show, I think, is like reserved, like the actual visual representation of it is reserved for people who deserve it in a way.
Yeah, most of the bad guys that Al Swearingen kills are loser criminals.
Yes.
Who deserve to die.
And so,
Crop ear. He was really pushy.
Yeah, it was really pushy. Because there's even that joke in that scene episode or two ago when he was talking to Hearst's guy, the gray-haired guy, and he's talking about like, what were you doing during the war? And then he was like, cutting throats, and it's a joke. It's a joke line.
Yeah.
And like, because we know like, oh, he's doing that all the time. He cuts people's throats. Like that's the joke. We know what Al Swearingen does. He cuts bad guys' throats.
Yeah.
and we're supposed to like that. And so you don't want to then associate it with him cutting a defenseless woman's throat.
Yeah. We've had, again...
For something that she has nothing to do with and probably didn't even know what was going on.
We've had a redemption arc similar
to... killing of Mice and Men.
We've spent so many hours of this show defending Al Swearingen. It is insane.
Well, he's had a redemption arc.
Though.
He's gotten better and better and better, and now he's backslid. This is what he says. This fucking place is going to be a fucking misery. Every fucking one of them. Every fucking time I walk by. Ooh, how could you? How could you with their big fucking cow eyes? The entire fucking gaggle of them is going to have to bleed and quit before we can even hope for peace. What's the fucking alternative? I ain't fucking killing her that sat nights with me sick and taking slaps to her mug that were some less than fucking fair. I should have fucking learned to use a gun, but I'm too fucking entrenched in my ways. Then he starts talking about Chief and insulting him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that he says cow eyes, which is the same word that he used to describe Bullock's son when he first saw him. Mm-hmm. He feels that people, when they look at him with cow eyes.
Yeah, he doesn't like...
very pure in a weird way.
Pure but dumb, I guess.
Yeah, innocent, naive.
Yeah. Whereas, like humans can lower their eyelids to denote something, a cow is just like always open or completely closed.
Yeah. Yeah. But for Al to be so powerful throughout the series and then to spend an entire fucking season, oh, should we attack Hearst? Oh, maybe we shouldn't attack Hearst. Oh, well, should we attack Hearst? Oh, no. And then finally just killing a helpless woman and then failing to even have a battle. Yeah. And just it's very deflating.
And not even necessarily sure if he's convinced Hearst. I mean, we don't know that necessarily because it happens so quickly at the end of the episode, and there's all this knife gripping and Hearst looking at him and all this.
One tell is that Hearst checks the pulse, so he's not suspecting a swap. He's suspecting that she's not really dead. And I think that to me is confirmation that he doesn't care. It's
all he wants is a dead body.
Her. Yeah.
But I guess you're right. He's not really. I don't think he actually cares that much.
It seemed like he went over there more to gloat than anything else.
But he wanted him to sacrifice to him. Yeah. On the altar of capitalism. Sacrifice this lady to him. Doesn't matter who it is.
But it's so abstract.
Wipes the blood off his boots as he walks out.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we needed scenes of like the Pinkertons like randomly killing people to drive home the point that these guys are going to kill everyone.
That'd be cool.
Because as a result, it's like this weird abstract thing where everyone's afraid of him and no one touches him, but he's just right next to. He's literally.
I totally agree with you, and we've talked about this. I wish that all of this stuff with the Pinkertons is like this whole timeline that exists were like pushed forward so that it was like season 3 started with the Pinkerton menace being there, and so by this point they've already. I was expecting them to kill somebody else in this episode.
Ellsworth.
Yeah, exactly. Because like in the last episode was Ellsworth.
Well, they acted like there was a plan for more killings.
Right. And so I thought like this episode, like, oh, somebody else is gonna die, not like Leon, like somebody was gonna die from like the Pinkertons. Yeah. And
maybe
that whole plan should have been moved up to the beginning of the season.
Yeah, because I mean, we had Pinkertons, 4 of them, at the very beginning of the season, but like a visual presence on the streets, maybe earlier.
Yeah.
Yes,
You get the sense that
you want an army presence.
The plan changed late in the game for Hearst. That his prospects, he's been hearing word about this other place that he left. And
did he say Anaconda?
I don't know. I don't think so, but
it sounded like he did say Anaconda, but he had to say Yukon. Let's
okay, I'm just really curious now because like, where the fuck did he?
There's a copper mountain in Anaconda
inside of an anaconda.
Yeah. Also, Leon's last words apparently are "Congratulations, sir."
Yeah, which was great.
Congratulations, sir. If that's the last words coming out of your mouth before you die, then you died stupid or something like that.
And it's just so sad. It's so ridiculous.
Fucking piece of shit.
That Leon died just kowtowing.
That's perfect. That's perfect. That's his whole character.
I'm still hoping that maybe Sai says the blood isn't. He
could still make it.
He could still make it.
But I always assumed he was dead because it's like he's dead, and it's like no. Yeah, and that again goes back into like Sai has an intimate knowledge of what happens when someone dies.
Yeah,
like almost like a fetishist.
Yes,
kind of
exactly.
thing.
Yeah. It's a sexual thing to him.
Instead of a sputter, it turns into seeping.
Yeah,
when you die. Yeah.
Also, this episode, Bullock loses his election. To Harry Manning. Also, I think this episode also establishes. I actually maybe we don't get this, but historically Saul Starr became mayor.
They didn't touch on that at all.
They didn't touch on that at all.
No.
Okay.
Because they didn't want to. They even made a point of saying something about that that might have been the last episode. Local elections versus the countywide elections.
I mean, we know he's up for it. I feel like there might be a line of dialogue somewhere that just touches on the fact that he did win. Maybe not. Maybe that brief moment where they're talking in the gym.
There was so much other shit going on.
Yeah, it's hard to remember things.
I mean, even for Saul, like if you told him that, he'd tell you fuck off.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm dealing with some shit right now.
Right.
Yeah.
My gal.
I have to keep my gal alive.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to find the Hearst, the very important Hearst.
No, I don't.
Trying to find the Hearst Jack conversation. We should also talk about Jane and Joni. And
we should.
Basically, they get back together and hug each other in bed underneath Charlie's Wild Bill blanket, which means Charlie blesses the Joni-Jane relationship, which we were wondering earlier how Charlie would react to Joni and Jane hooking up. And he reacted.
I don't know if he knew.
He gave Joni a present meant for Jane.
Right.
I feel like
but I thought
he knew that
they're
were
friends.
Yeah, I don't know that he was necessarily aware of a relationship.
I don't think so either.
I'm going to take it like that because the show's.
I mean, it's nice to think that, but I don't think that's necessarily true.
Right.
But what else in Jane and Joni? Basically, they have a conversation where
it's okay. I'll put it this way: it's nice to feel like that, and that they basically the show, I think, sanctifies their relationship now.
Yeah.
But I don't think like if there was a next season, then I think Charlie would be like, "Oh, I don't know about this, Mister."
I'm authentically really homophobic. I think he would be
according to the time period. I'd be very pissed off about this right now.
I think he'd be progressive.
Although Sai is very perceptive. And picked up on it with a jab at Joni.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he already knew that about her. He already knew that she leaned
about her.
That she leaned that way.
Yeah.
And so as soon as somebody who's a lady comes to her aid,
and
his first thing, his first thing is going to be like, "Oh, so now you're with fucking her," which is what's driving his anger much is because thinking
jealousy,
of
possessiveness.
Her, with some lady.
According to our transcript, Hearst is leaving for the Anaconda. I'm not sure.
Boom! Anaconda!
I think there is a South American
Anaconda. Don't.
There must be a South American place called the Anaconda, but
that's what I thought they said.
But maybe that's also a transcription error. Maybe.
I'm pretty sure they said Anaconda.
Maybe they said Wakanda.
Yeah.
Forever. Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
These are references to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
Which is very popular at our time of recording in 2019.
Which was very popular in 2019 and subsequently fell out of favor in the year 2023.
Oh, no.
Nobody ever talked about it again.
Yeah. We all became a Deadwood Westworld universe.
Nobody ever talked about Marvel or Disney again.
There's also
weird how Disney bought up everything and just completely went out of business.
Away. Also, this episode, we get some sort of closure on Merrick, who says, or basically a nod towards her son, Charles Foster Kane, or
William
Randolph Hearst, and where basically Merrick is like
set up a newspaper here.
Exactly.
So Hearst is going to get into the newspaper business, which will lead to.
And I never thought I would say this at the beginning of this series, but poor Merrick.
Yeah.
Poor Merrick.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was talking about how he wasn't a coward.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I also think that I'll say that I think you guys were regarding those earlier episodes with
his entire arc in mind.
And I think when you're viewing it straightforward from beginning to end,
and with knowledge of the actor.
Yeah, I mean, he starts off as like a coward and like a fuckhead kind of, and I mean, at least the way the show presents him from episode to episode, and then slowly over time he starts to come into his own, and then strangely moves towards Al before anybody else does. Like he gets taken in before anybody else does. So I don't know, but by the end of it, I do feel for
he is fighting with
Merrick.
the team. He cares about the camp.
I mean, of
he
course,
has a role and
anytime somebody's with the team, whatever fucking team it is, you're like, ah.
But at the same time, he's still less of an objective journalist, but we don't care now.
He's lying our way.
But I think he also hits on the fact that there's not really such a thing as neutral. Objective journalism.
Yeah.
Well,
complete neutrality is...
I talked about this in my documentary form class. There's no such thing as objectivity. You're always going to have an opinion on something.
Yeah,
and
right.
So, I think he says it correctly in that episode that we talked about recently.
You just mask your
bias.
You
mask your opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just present things as best you can.
As fairly and honestly as you can.
As you can.
Yeah.
But you're always going to have an opinion on something because you're a fucking person.
Some things to you are objectively right or wrong.
Exactly. And there's nothing you could do about that.
And you can't speak against your own gut in those instances.
No, because it feels wrong.
Right.
You're not going to do what feels wrong.
And that feels like the opposite of journalistic integrity.
Exactly.
Well, to me, he starts out as a non-violent nerd, and he's like out of his element because he doesn't want to kill people. And
I think he
gets corrupted.
I think he starts off as just a nerd. Mm-hmm. I think he has some.
He's fascinated
violent
with his apparatus
tendencies. No. Not that he does anything directly to be violent.
He's also a shit stirrer.
But he's a shit stirrer. No, he totally is.
You thought that he told Bullock that Jack McCall was leaving, so Bullock could go kill him.
Yes, and he did. He totally did.
I'm sorry. I think he was just disgusted at the outcome of the trial.
I'm gonna say, and I surprisingly I remember this. I'm gonna say, consciously, I don't know if that's what he meant, but. Subconsciously, he wanted that guy.
He got the information to the right guy.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted. He knows Bullock's a fucking psycho. That's something that's just reestablished over and over and over again in this show.
Kind of like Bullock going into the gym and saying that if Alma's dad gets out of the camp alive,
it's
bad news. I think it was more like
dead.
You seen this shit?
I don't swim in that shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like Merrick gets corrupted by Al early. And then is used for his purposes.
Yes.
And he is more admirable that he actually has passion that he's showing here. But I think he could do a better job as a newspaper man in terms of subverting Al and Bullock. He doesn't need to repeat.
He needs to hire some journalists.
I think so too. Yeah.
He can't do it all himself.
I think so too, but it's realistic in the fact that that's not possible. You're beholden to the powers that allow you to continue existing,
to operate,
and also the ones that give you money.
I would say definitely that's an influence on journalism, but not all journalists are as easily persuadable as him. Also, the actual Merrick and the actual Black Hills Pioneer, they needed to have more information about Swearingen. I'm very curious about him, but they are reticent on him. Well, as far as I have seen, I haven't. There's some people who have access to it, and I would like to read some of. Anyway.
No, I totally understand.
We could use more information about historical Deadwoodites.
I totally understand what you're saying because journalists are not spineless jellyfish like. Merrick is portrayed in this show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They can have a fucking backbone.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Who have we left out? Let's see. Charlie Utter. We talked about him. Yep. Martha Bullock. Did she have much this episode?
Did she do anything? Was she in it? Was she in the finale?
I'm not sure.
Was she in this last season? I'm just kidding. She not really. She wasn't really in this last season. I mean, like
you could have come home with a little more sugar last night.
Yeah, I mean there was
sweetness.
There was some stuff between her and Bullock where it's like, oh, they're starting to become like an actual couple,
where they fight,
and then they actually fight and they make up like a couple would do, but
Alma's ending is depressing. She's like, I'm not gonna leave, and the next scene she's like,
she's lost.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, she's taking care of her child.
That's not a bad ending for her.
No, it really.
She actually decides she needs to take care of her child that she's agreed to take care of.
It's like it sucks that she can't hang on to that gold claim. But
she's also fucking rich.
She's rich already.
Beyond belief.
Yeah. And then plus the money
and still
that
runs
Hearst
a
is
fucking
giving her
bank.
for it.
And still runs a fucking bank. The
In
bank's
Deadwood,
still fucking there.
Yeah. So yeah,
she still has tons of money. I feel no sympathy for her, really.
Why?
What do you mean why? She's rich and I'm not.
Oh. you exist. She doesn't exist. She has no historical persona.
No, I know, but I'm saying like, why?
You don't feel bad for her.
I don't feel bad for the plight.
For the way it ended.
I don't feel bad for the plight of the super rich. I never feel fucking bad for him, ever, in any fucking thing, ever. I might feel bad in the moment for whatever, like, minutia thing, like her,
something
like,
that
like
does
Ellsworth
not
dying,
to richness,
like Ellsworth
like
dying,
the loss of a child.
yeah,
or something like
whatever. That's fine, but overall,
My money.
her going away with her child and all this stuff
And not being killed.
Like
she got a fucking great ending, because most other people end up fucking face down in the goddamn dirt.
Congratulations.
So, congratulations.
You survived for at least a year or two.
Congratulations.
In the camp of Deadwood.
You came out in first place. You
were going to go
arcade.
back to all those...
You get to go in and put your fucking initials in because you got first place in Deadwood.
She's going to go back to all those vapid people in New York and have so much more wisdom and life experience than them.
Yeah, everything worked out great for her in the grand scheme of things. It could have been a lot fucking worse.
She got out of her marriage she hated.
Yep.
She got out of the other
second marriage she
hated.
hated.
So thrilled about.
She got a child that she didn't have to birth.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Someone beat up her dad.
Such a petty thing.
Her dad got his ass kicked.
Her dad got all of his teeth knocked out.
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck?
She got
more
to
do you
hook up
want?
with a hot sheriff.
I know, right? For like months.
Yeah.
With no, well, I mean,
most of the time she just hung out in her room high.
yeah.
Let's talk about Sai.
So Alma had a great ending, actually. Yeah. God damn, she had a great arc too. What?
Sai, he made some bad choices. He did all that shit.
Sai crashed and burned.
Yeah. He really did, and that's
really
what
bad.
Sucks.
I mean, but he's been crashing and burning for like a season and a half.
Yeah. He has.
I mean, what do you mean when you say crash and burn?
I mean,
spiraling.
Like, ever since Joni left, he's been, like, useless.
He's been like Cobra Commander.
Yes.
He's just like an he's an ineffectual villain.
In various stages of disheveled and undressed.
Yes.
Like, he always seems kind of depressed.
But here he's helplessly terrorizing a heroin addict and a prostitute while failing to shoot the man he hates. And he feels that for all that he's done for Hearst, he's got nothing out of the deal.
And you know what's funny is I did read, this wasn't a spoiler or anything, but I did read that people were like so pissed off because I already knew that Powers Booth was dead.
Yeah,
I mean that's a commonly known thing.
Yeah.
And so knowing that was going to be the end of the show was going to be the end of his arc, people were like online saying like, well, I just hate that like Powers Booth dead, so like I just wasted all that time watching his arc on the show because he's not going to have a conclusion now. And it's
wasted
like,
time.
What the fuck does that mean?
I agree.
Honestly,
until that statement.
Honestly,
because it sucks.
Honestly, I think it's in a way kind of the perfect end to his character.
That he was an awful person and got screwed over.
Yeah, he was an awful person, got screwed over, stabbed one of his lackeys, and like almost kills a whore. I mean, like that's Sai in a nutshell.
Yeah. And there will be a throwaway line in the movie about remember Sai died.
Yeah.
Well, in this book,
maybe they'll do something else with it.
I don't know, but I mean, like I just Anyway, get the book.
Well, I mean, we don't have to get it, but in this book, it's a coffee table book, and it basically Milch is bullshitting, and he says Sai's arc is for him to end up the biggest feminist in all of Deadwood. Like, that's what he says.
No, I mean, like...
Literally, that's what he says.
I mean, that's great, but, like, I
don't think he would ever have gotten to that.
His arc is perfect in that he becomes irrelevant and takes it out on a moron who works for him, tries to take it out on one of the prostitutes, and then she talks him out of it, just like his entire life on this show goes. Yeah. So, like, I don't know. In a way, it's kind of perfect.
He's an impotent pimp.
Yes.
Who fails at life.
And he admits that to Joni in this episode or the previous episode where he's saying, like, I don't know how to run, cunt, or whatever.
Yeah.
He says something to that effect where he's just, he wants her to come back for like the fucking 5th time.
Because she was kind of the go-between, the soft hand.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and he doesn't know how to do any of it. He just calls him stupid.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that Milch was bullshitting. I don't see how Cy could become a feminist.
I could see him. I could, if the show had kept going, I could see him trying to pull himself out of a slump.
You can twist it into him into a pretzel and make him.
I mean, he wouldn't genuinely be.
No.
But I can see him
could try.
spinning it to his advantage and
for
really like being a staunch supporter of Joni Stubbs
just
and
for
whatever
Joni.
her fucking endeavor is.
That's it. That's it. It would just be for Joni. It would have nothing to do with women. It would have to do with Joni.
Well, sure, sweetheart. Do whatever you want.
Anything you want.
Yeah, anything you want.
And
it's fine.
it's
fucking fine, isn't it, Leon?
What about you, Con? That fine. That's mighty fucking fine.
Picks up a parcel.
We haven't talked about Con yet. We didn't see much of Con this episode.
He just kind of goes. Walks out of the scene.
Unfortunately, he doesn't have a lot. He didn't even really get to do his like bulldog thing that much.
But we can assume that later he came to collect Leon's body.
Oh,
because he did say go get Con, clean this shit up, and so he had to clean his best friend up.
Yeah.
God damn it.
So that's kind of the perfect ending for Con.
It really is.
In Deadwood in real life, there were 2 very powerful brothel owners who are women, one of whom I think is inspiration for Joni. Yeah, I think we've run out of characters.
Langrish and the girl in the theater.
Oh.
There was one scene where she's like, "Why did you bring me here?" And he said, "I don't know." And that was the end of the scene.
Yeah.
It was stuff. It was like, I'm sure, set up for season 4.
Wait.
Oh yeah, now we can talk about the theater troupe. The theater troupe is horrible, and it makes no sense, and nothing will ever happen. Spoilers. It's all.
Yeah, spoilers.
So wait.
I doubt that they'll ever.
Is Brian Cox dead?
No, he's still alive. We haven't heard about him being in the show. I don't know if he's in the show. He has not been advertised.
He should be in the movie.
He's not been advertised.
He should be in the movie.
I get the sense that he might not be in it.
God damn it.
He's not advertised.
He should be in the fucking movie.
Yeah. It would be great. He's a great actor. He's
an incredible actor.
This camp is far too melancholy for me anymore.
I'll take my leave.
Yeah.
But aren't you dying to know whether or not the woman that's hanging out at the Shaughnessy's is his daughter or his lover?
I couldn't give a shit less. I just want Brian Cox to hang out with
if everyone in the theater troupe left and he's like, I think I'll linger for a bit longer. And he just hangs out in the gym.
Yeah.
Like, that would be perfect.
His mouth is like, his lower lip is always like poking out.
Yeah.
And just like half open.
Yeah.
He has a very, like, he's always like about to say something.
Yeah.
Agamemnon from Troy.
Oh, yes.
I mean, he's full of incredible performances.
Yeah. William Stryker. X2.
He's very good in X-Men 2.
Yeah. He's the best part of X-Men 2.
Yeah, he's the most credible part, and you're like, oh, well, he's just going to...
You were always an animal. I just gave you claws.
Speaking of X-Men 2, is there anything else left to say about Deadwood?
What? Like about this episode?
Yeah, I mean, do we want to talk about the series as a whole, or anything, or the preview, or
do you like it?
Or we want to wrap up this episode and then?
We can wrap up, and but there's other stuff.
Okay, and also we're going to be driving to Deadwood in a matter of 4 days for the premiere of the movie. And we'll meet Mr. Wu and Jerry Jewell, who plays Jewel, and
they'll meet us.
W. Earl Brown.
That's the most important thing is they'll meet us.
Or will we get there and be like, there?
There's now an autograph signing. We also now have to get up at 5 a.m. to get tickets.
Jesus.
5 a.m. What day?
Thursday.
Like when?
No, Friday.
Jesus fucking Christ.
So we'll get there. So we'll just have to go to bed early.
We'll be fucking dead.
But anyway, about this episode and about this series, this. Deadwood season 3 I feel like the show gets messier with each season.
It does.
And so like this is the messiest season.
It is very messy.
But I love George Hearst.
Yeah.
As a villain.
It's a great fucking villain.
He's,
Brian Cox is incredible in this season.
Great fucking
It's
villain.
like there's a lot of great fucking performances still. Al gets back to form more in this season towards the later part of it.
He's not as kidney stoned out.
Yeah, I mean, like, season 2, after he takes the tumble, he gets a little bit back towards the end of season 2, right? Mm-hmm. But then he kind of, like, stops again for season 3.
Yeah. Because his finger cut off.
Because he gets his finger cut off. And so, like, they're having to constantly emasculate him. So it's, like, almost like where
Because if he's in full form, he'll wipe everybody out.
Yeah.
And he might kill innocent
Seemingly.
women.
But
it's just like Captain Marvel. They have to send her off to space for some reason.
Right, exactly. But in a way, it takes away a lot of stellar lines that you could have from this show.
Instead, you just get him saying great lines.
Most of them are from
Johnny.
season 1. Yeah. Most of them are from season 1. The like really, really like great shit is from like season 1.
Well, I mean, Stand It Like a Man and Give Some Back is from season 2.
Season 2, that's the beginning though, right?
No, it's middle, I guess. I don't know.
It's after his
stuff messed up.
I mean, I love season 1 and season 2. Season 3 is weird for me, but I feel like it's best watched like in a binge, like we do.
Yes.
Like because it all is such a. It's most like life, where just a bunch of shit happens, and it's like a confused jumble.
Yeah.
And I find the ending is a punch in the gut or crotch. But it's okay because I think it thematically.
It's a kick in the crotch and then a kick in the ribs and then a slit throat.
And it's very sad. But
thanks, Al.
Thanks a lot, Al.
Yeah. Wait, what's the last line to the
show?
Show?
To tell him something pretty.
Yeah. Anyways.
Is that good enough?
Well, we said the last line of the.
We did it.
Okay.
So that was.